So here's the deal. My weekend just opened up, or what's left of it. It's about 3 o'clock on Sunday. I was about an hour north of here earlier today, and the weather's just amazing. So I'm going to go back out an hour north. I should be there about 4:30. That puts me just about time to find some locations, maybe to catch some nice light here in the evening. So let's do it. Come on. Alright, so I'm on my way north right now. I've got to get out there. The light this morning was just amazing. The heavy cloud cover, beams of light coming through, highlighting spots of the mountain. We've had heavy smoke cover for the last, 2 weeks, and you could almost not see the mountains at all, and it's really cleared up quite a bit. And with that beautiful light and the clear skies, I'm just itching to get out there and take some photographs. The colors right now are just amazing. It's September. The ground cover's changing colors. The trees aren't quite changing yet, but there's a little hint here and there. There's still some flowers around. And then with the clouds intermingling with the mountains, it's just perfect for photos. So I gotta get out there and try it. I do have to get back for work tomorrow. I work just like everybody else, and I don't do this full time. I would love to. If anybody's got any tips, let me know. But for now, I just want to take you along and see if you enjoy the trip as much as I do. So here we go. I am fighting the urge to stop and shoot these pretty scenes over top of this lake right now. The light is perfect, and the water's nice and dark and clear, nice and calm, and the clouds are in the sky. And I'm fighting the urge. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to where I'm going. I have a plan. I'm gonna stick to it. This is always the problem I run into. I get distracted. Photographers get distracted, or at least I do. We see something pretty and we stop and we spend too much time there and we don't make it to our destination. And sometimes that's fantastic. It's the journey. At the same time, I really want to get there. And I would say that probably 6 times out of 10 that I make this decision, I regret it. So let's hope that there's no regret at the end of this trip. Oh my, that took way longer than I expected. It took me a lot longer to get up the mountain road than I anticipated last time I was going down. But boy, is it worth it. Look at that. Well, that's going to white out on us. Boy, there we go. The view from up here is just fantastic. It is a little bit bright. I am shooting into the daylight sun right there, but the clouds have beams of light coming down onto the mountains in front of me. I think it might just lead to a scene. If nothing else, I'll know where to come back to. But I'll give you a shot of it here in just a sec. And look at that scene. Just everywhere around me is just absolutely gorgeous. Do you see that transition in weather from just absolutely gorgeously blue skies over there to rainy? It's pouring rain over these mountains right now. Can you see that? All those streaks in the sky, just absolutely pouring on those mountains over there, and all the way over here to the north and back behind me. The steam's rising up off these mountains that have just gotten rained on. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. Steam's rising up, and that sun coming from behind us just igniting it. It looks like almost fire back there. And then over here, the beams of light are actually coming out and actually hitting the ground. And everywhere I look, there's photos everywhere I look. And I am tremendously tempted to get out my wide angle lens. Actually, at first I did get out my wide angle lens. I got my 24-70 down here that I just had on my camera. And I was looking at this and I'm like, this panoramic scene, just to show the horrendous storms in the mountains all the way to this beautiful sunny day over here. Show the transition. I wanted to show it. But there are such fantastic little details in each one of these little mountain peaks over here. What I have on here right now is my 70 to 200, and I'm actually zooming way in. I've been shooting anywhere between probably 140 and 200 millimeters, zooming in on those different areas and just capturing. It's more of a silhouette scenario of that steamy area back there, or the rain clouds. I mean, it's relatively bright sky and dark mountains, but those silhouettes with all the texture of the weather is just intriguing to me. And they might not be too super special, and they might not end up in my portfolio, but I love it, so I wanted to shoot that. If I can get that cloud over there to come in front of the sun a little bit more, as though I have some power over that. Let me show you that cloud over there. If I could get that to darken a little bit, I'm going to go for that panoramic scene. But right now, it's just, there's no detail in those clouds. It's pure white. So I'm trying to avoid that in my composition. But boy, that mountain cloud here, that mountain storm over here is just raging. That is awesome. I think I'll aim the camera that way for a little bit. Alright, so I apologize. I did a lot of shooting between the last time you saw me and right now, and that's for two reasons. One, I didn't realize I was just talking to a camera that wasn't completely on, or completely wasn't on, so that was my fault. The other thing was that this storm back here developed rapidly, and you can see it's probably different from what you just saw a minute ago. I mean, it's almost sunny over there again. It's lightening up. It's that whole storm just raged and then dissipated, and that happened so fast in the mountains that I had to capture it. And I kind of talk to you about how I did that. I ended up shooting another panorama, and I've been shooting a ton of panoramic images recently, and that's because I just moved back to the mountains. There's tons of vistas out here. There's big scenes. There's grand scenes like this, and I want to capture them, and I need to work on my more intimate landscapes. I know I do, but when you see it, you shoot it, and I love them. So here we are. I am still shooting with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and I have it zoomed in at it's probably about 170 mil right now. I'm not exactly sure, but it's not fully out, but it's out there a good ways. And what I was targeting was, let me put these back on my head. What I was targeting was to catch both the raging storm clouds in the sky up here, all this detail in the clouds, but also down on the ground. Can't really see it now, but back here in this background, those sunbeams were coming down and illuminating the trees. The trees are green, but it was illuminated with real golden light, and it made them almost yellow, and it contrasted really well with the steely blue storm clouds in the background. And I just had to capture that. So I ended up shooting a panorama, actually left to right, to catch that sunbeam on the trees and then over to where it completely whited out or blued out the mountain. And I think it's going to make a really moody scene. I love really moody scenes, and I think every photographer does, but like, they're a passion of mine. So I had an opportunity to shoot it, and I wanted to capture the whole scene. So I ended up shooting 4 shots across, and that's just because I wanted to make sure I got plenty of detail and a lot of overlap. But really, I'm shooting from over here to over there, really, in the final photograph. And I'll show you that in just a minute, but I'll talk about my settings. So let me flip this camera around. So like I said, I set up 70 to 200 millimeter lenses out about 170 millimeters. No filters on there, and you can see the settings I have. I did turn the camera into manual mode, and I don't always shoot in manual mode. I think I've said that before, and I'll say it again. I don't have any problem with aperture priority or shutter priority modes on the camera. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with that camera. It's really jittery. It was driving me nuts. I'm sure it was driving you nuts too. But like I was saying, aperture priority and shutter priority are a photographer's friend. You don't have to use them, but I choose to use them. It helps me take my mind off of the settings on the camera and focus it on the scene. What I'm here for is to capture a fantastic image. I'm not here to mess with my gear. I'm not here to play with it. I'm not a terrible gearhead. I do have a lot of it, and I'll talk about that sometime. But what I'm interested in is capturing the image. That's what I came out here for. That's what I'm out here for every time. So I usually use shutter priority or aperture priority quite a bit, but this time I flipped it into manual, and I'll tell you why. The scene was pretty, again, dynamic, as most landscape scenes are. You had a bright subject transitioning into a dark subject, and what I did was focus basically to infinity, F10, to keep as much focal distance sharp as I could. And I noticed that aperture priority is telling me about 1/100th of a second, so I flipped it into manual, set 1/100th of a second, checked an image, saw that it looked good, and I left it in manual and shot across. And the reason I did that was because I have my ISO set at 64. It's not an auto ISO. So now all my settings will stay the same between each frame, so that whenever I go back in to blend that landscape later together, when I actually create the panorama, I have the same settings and I don't have to go and adjust every photo in between. If you have any auto settings in there, let's say you have aperture priority and it's adjusting your shutter speed, the brightness of the image is going to normalize the brightness, and that will adjust from one scene to the next. So each one of my frames had about a half an overlap. And if I go and blend those together in Photoshop or Lightroom into a panorama, and each photo is at a different brightness, it's not going to look like one image, and that's what I was really going for. So I set it into manual, I shot all the way across. I think I got what I wanted, and I hope it came out great. I hope you like it. Well, I just finished up shooting that last bit that you saw, and it started sprinkling on me. I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to rain. And the scene behind me, it looks whited out. It is whited out. There's a ton of steam coming off these mountains out of the valley right now. It's probably making me look real dark. And while it's very pretty, there's not much detail out there. You can't really see what's going on. It's like a cloud moved in between us, or between me and the mountains. And I think I'm going to move on for a little bit. There's some really beautiful hills back here, and the ground cover is really beautiful colors. I want to find a place to go and shoot wildlife at some point in that really beautiful background, that ground cover that would just be really poppy colors. Would be excellent to capture some wildlife. I saw some deer on the way up. I think you might have seen that. I hope I caught that on the video coming in. The background in wildlife photography is critical in my mind. The animal's one thing, but the scene, the story is something special. So I'm going to go try to find a location for that. Just like I found a story here, the story of the storm over the mountain. Every one of your photos, I believe, should tell a story in some way, the story of your subject. It might be a very short story. It might be just a moment in time, but that's a story. And I'm going to go try to find some locations that maybe I can help tell an animal story sometime if I can find them, lucky enough to find them out there. So I'm going to go explore some more. All right, so I'm back at the truck. I would love for you to come along with me to scout out some areas for some wildlife photography and maybe do a little bit of woodland photography as well. But to be honest, I'm scouting. I don't really know where I'm going. And I think I best just find locations, and maybe I can show you sometime in the future. So I appreciate you coming along with me. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And I will see you next time. Till then.